What's going on, guys? So a little bit different video today. I want to revisit Swords of Legends Online. This was a pretty hyped up mmorpg that came out in July, and now that it's been out for almost 5 months now, I want to kind of revisit it. I never really got to endgame. I want to see how the population's doing. Is it still populated? Is there a dedicated group of people playing it? Of course, it's a pretty niche audience to begin with, so never expected it to be Final Fantasy 14 numbers or World of Warcraft numbers. But either way, I just wanted to see how the game's doing and just kind of check it out. I'm also going to make another level 1 character just so I can see kind of the beginning starting areas and see if there's any new players starting the game there. But either way, we're just going to journey through the game, play it for a few hours, and just kind of see how it's going 5 months after release. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is make that new class real quick. I don't really know what I really want to play. I think I'm just going to go for... I don't know, there's actually a lot of cool classes. Definitely never play a healer though, so I think I'm just gonna go with a spell sword. That works for me. Let's go, man. Gonna do a quick preset mainly because I'm just trying to see how many players are in the game and how populated it feels, so don't really care too much about the customization. Definitely eye color will be red. I like that. There we go. Oh yeah, I need to make a name. Here we go. That's with 2 E's. Let's see if that's available. Yep. Okay, let's check this out and see how the game feels in terms of population. Okay, starting out, it looks like we have 2 different players right here, so, I mean, better than none, right? I don't expect a ton to be over here, mainly because it's the very starting area. I kind of want to see further on. Also, this is kind of considered the tutorial area, so most people are not going to be hanging around here. There's another player right here, which is cool to see. Let's keep going, though. Okay, we got through the main kind of solo storylines. Let's see how the population looks in terms of people in the starting area. I remember this area during launch. This was kind of the main area everyone was starting at. Because all the stuff before that was like solo stuff. Let's put this on real quick. Let's like, this is definitely a player, right? I'm pretty sure. Yeah, that has to be a player. Besides that, looks like mostly just NPCs. Again, I'll keep looking around. But yeah, I do remember this from launch. This was a really populated area. I wonder if they fixed all the translation errors, because I remember when this game launched, a lot of people were upset that it still had a lot of stuff in Chinese, or people, like NPCs would like say stuff and it wouldn't make any sense at all. Personally, for me, I don't really care about that too much. As long as the combat and the game is fun, I mean, I don't really care if some of the NPC talk in Chinese. As long as the game is actually fun and not boring, that's the most important thing to me. So for me, it never really was that big of a deal. Of course, I like to see it polished and not have Chinese voiceovers in my game. But it's not really the #1 priority. If the game's boring, that's the thing I don't like. Let's test out these new abilities though. Honestly, I have to admit, this, I think it's called Spell Mage or something like that. Spell Mage. I'm really liking this class a lot. I don't really know why. It's just kind of fun. You like shoot all these arrows or beams of light out, and then you also of course have like the sword, because it's a mixture of like a mage and a sword, of course, class. But I don't know, it's pretty fun right now. I'm liking it a lot. Okay, let's go back on my main, because this character is level 15. Again, not a super high level character by any means, but this is the one that I made during launch. Kind of the reasons why I assume people are going to ask me why I quit in probably early July is mainly just because I got really bored with the questing. I feel like it's super lackluster. Like, it's very boring, not paying attention. I loved the combat. I found like it was really cool. I loved the classes. Like, I mean, turning into a wolf is, I mean, come on, this is just cool. Like, who's gonna say this isn't cool? Like, look at this. Yeah, sword in my mouth. Like, it's awesome. But I just found the questing so lackluster and boring that I just kind of got bored and quit, honestly. Again, not like a ton of players around. I don't know if they're just all at endgame or something, but usually it's not the best sign when you see like no new players around in these areas, because it means there's not a lot of people jumping into the game that are brand new. And for mmorpg to be healthy, you really have to have a decent population of new players entering the game. But either way, we're gonna keep going. Combat is really solid. I love it on the Berserker. There's so many great things about this game. I just wish the questing wasn't so boring. I feel like I'd have a lot more fun in this game if they just revamped the questing, instead of just like going back and forth from checkpoints, turning in quests, killing a few mobs here and there. It's very generic, and maybe I've just played mmorpgs for too long, but it just gets quite boring very quickly. But looking at the community hub, it is quite low of a player base. Right now, there are only 375 players online through Steam. Now, granted, I'm not playing at like 2 a.m. or 3 a.m. I'm playing right at like around 3 o'clock. Like, it's not a late time right now where I'm at. Another thing I've been noticing when I've been looking at the Reddit and the forums of people posting, a lot of people are saying they're tweeting because of the endgame raid players are very toxic. I don't know if this is to be true, but the problem is when you have these raid groups of people who are incredibly toxic, and the player base is so small, it gets amplified because you run into these small player base of players so often. Like, if you're playing on a big game like World of Warcraft or Final Fantasy 14, you run into a few toxic players, you'll probably never run into them again because there's hundreds of thousands of players online. In these games, when there's only maybe a couple thousand players, if 100 or 200 of them are super toxic, that's a lot of players that eventually you're going to run into them again. And I can see why a lot of people are quitting because of toxic raid players. Now, obviously, I don't know if that's completely true, but if that's the case, that's a really sad thing to see because it's probably scaring away a lot of people from the game. Also saw a lot of people saying, again, kind of like my viewpoint, the storyline is quite boring. Like, look at this quest. I'm just sitting here examining some bird for 20 plus seconds. Like, it's just a very boring, tedious process. I really wish they would have revamped some of the leveling process in this game. Okay, let's look at this. So in July when it came out, it had an average of over 7,000 players, which is to be expected. The launch has a lot of players. I really expected it to go down. It had a peak player of 18,000 players on Steam, which is amazing. Again, I expected it to go down. I thought it would drop. That's perfectly normal because at launch, everyone jumps in and then people leave. That's perfectly fine. The problem is when the game drops really drastically, like we see with this. In August, it went down to only 3,000 players. September, within 1 month, it dropped to under 1,500 players. October, 700 players. And now we're at barely even 400 players on Steam. So within these past like almost 5 months, it's been a very drastic drop. Now, I know people's argument will be, well, Jarke, there's different launchers. There's the GameForge launcher you can play it on, and I'm aware of that. And I saw people saying you can play on the Epic Games launcher. I don't know who the hell would play this on that. Like, why would you choose that over the game client or Steam? It just doesn't make sense to me. But even if there's 400 to 600 players playing through the client, maybe 100 or 200 playing on the Epic Games client, and then the 400 something on the Steam, there isn't going to be more than 2,000 players playing this game. Like, there's just no way. So it's just a really sad state to see that this game has declined so much over just a very small couple of months. This is not like this game's been out for 4 years and now it has a very small player base. It hasn't even been out a year yet. While I was looking into what's going on with this game and why the player base dropped off so much, I found a really great comment on the Reddit that got some upvotes and a lot of people seem to agree with it, and it seems pretty accurate, so I wanted to kind of share it with you guys. So basically talked about the cons, kind of the neutral stuff, and then of course the pros of the game. So the cons were the bad optimization, unstable FPS. I noticed that with my ping, at least I get really bad ping in this game, like over 100, which in other MMORPGs I just never get that. So maybe that's a kind of a bad issue with that. It seems like people get a lot of different ping spikes in this game. I talked about the horrible voice acting and translation. Seems like that's still an issue, which is unfortunate to see. Neutral talks about how the combat is good, but with the unstable ping and FPS, it becomes quite clunky. Again, I've noticed that playing the Berserker class. And then the most important part, and I'll leave this whole post in the link below if you guys want to read through it. A lot of people share their thoughts, which is pretty interesting. But the most important part you put here is the game is dying. And this is something I already brought to you guys with the Steam player base count that we saw drop so drastically over that 5-month period. It just really shows that the game is just not having a healthy population. It's just really a shame because I feel like the general gameplay of this game is really fun. The atmosphere, the environment, the whole world itself is just really beautiful and pretty, and the movement is like one of the best I've ever felt. Like, just jumping around this game feels amazing, but it's just surrounded by bad optimization. It has a lot of time gating content. I've noticed in the end game a lot of people complaining about being locked out of content. Even housing has some restrictions on how much you can do every day. Just not a really great idea. And then you have on top of that a really low player base, which is kind of a domino effect, because when people join this game and they see there's only 455 players on Steam, they're gonna go, something's wrong with this game. Like, why are there not that many players? And then they're not gonna choose to join. And when players can't find parties and raid groups because the population's so low, they're gonna quit as well. So it's kind of a domino effect of them just constantly losing players. And it's very unfortunate because overall I feel like this game is pretty good. It's not like a terrible game. It just has some major flaws with kind of the designs, and then also kind of the storyline being quite boring with going back and forth fetch type quest. But I do feel like it's better than Elion at least. Elion was terrible to me, and the fact that this game is not pay to win and it's an Eastern MMORPG is to be applauded, because that just never happens, honestly. But it's just unfortunate to see the population so low. I would love to see it pick back up, but I just feel like over time it's gonna keep dropping, and I don't know, eventually it might just shut down. It's just sad to see. But let me know in the comments below what you guys think about this. Kind of revisiting Swords of Legends Online was pretty disappointing to me. I was really hoping to come back to see like a decent niche population, like a kind of like a cult fan base type thing for this game. That's what I was expecting, but what I came to is quite a dead game, and it's just really sad to see. I might level up a little bit more. I think I might get to kind of like mid-game level and see if there's any more people running some like mid-tier dungeons or just any players whatsoever, because I still just like the overall gameplay of the game. It's just really sad to see how bad of a decline this game is in. But let me know in the comments below what you guys think about this. Is this to be expected? Do you think the game will have any type of surge in the future, or do you think it's kind of doomed to eventually kind of, sad to say, probably shut down if the population keeps dwindling? Mainly because the game does not have the pay-to-win features. Like, in these type of games, when the population is so low, like for example Elion, the game already has a low population. Because it's such a pay-to-win game and they have those top-tier whales that spend a ton of money, they can keep the game alive. But in this game, where there's not a ton of pay-to-win, like really at all, it's going to be really interesting to see if they can even keep this game alive with such a low player base, or if they'll have to go pay-to-win. But either way, let me know in the comments below, and I'll see you guys in the next video real soon.